So, without further ado, floor is yours, my man.
Well, before I get anything going, I have to give a shout out to you and Vince on your recording earlier. Full transparency, I will need a bit of time to listen to that one, but appreciate you giving the time to have not one but two people have an opportunity to talk about today. For me, before I dive in and dissect and be extremely critical, I do have to say, and I want to say that I am very, very grateful to have had the opportunity to go to two games for this side. And you felt that it was going to be different this time around with the squad selection, with Didier's last run. I'll get more on that later. With the health of the team, but it didn't happen. And when I previewed it with you, I said, I was saying that they've been talking a lot about them owning France and the last two games. I didn't want to include Nations League because that's the inferior competition. Well, I now I got both. I got the Euros and this one. And if you want to ask me about which one is the harder one to deal with, it's this one. And it's not even about Euros or World Cup. It's just strictly the fact that if you were to tell me Yamal doesn't score a goal, Danny Olmo doesn't score a goal, I would tell you, okay. I mean, I like where this is going. I like where we're thinking here. Because in that game in 2024, you had that 5 minutes of individual brilliance from Lamine and Danny Olmo, and you can live with that. But this one, this one I can't live with. This is a failure. When you have a roster and team composition like this, to not even be in the final, it's a failure. It's as simple as that. Now with today's game, I was extremely surprised that Chouameni played. I thought that's a tall task to have somebody who hasn't played in a while uh, come in and get going again in a semifinal against Spain. Didier got his tactics completely wrong. How do you expect in the midfield when they have three versus your two to have the opportunity to have possession, build up play, and be the team that everyone thought you were? I'm just extremely disappointed in the fact also that Spain wanted the ball more. They were first to the ball. 9 times out of 10, they were first to the ball. They were the more technical team. Touches weren't correct. Passes were inaccurate. Anytime something, anytime they tried to build up play, it was either a bad pass, bad touch, weren't on the same page. There was a couple times where Usman and Jules Koundé were not in lockstep with one another, whether that was playing a through ball and Jules is nowhere near there, and vice versa. The team that everyone fell in love with this whole tournament didn't show up today. The team that I love didn't show up today. And I think that's what hurts the most. With the penalty, I don't know what Lucas Digne is thinking. It's a handball, dude. What you know, it's one of those things in a split second. The game completely falls on its head, and that's what happened. But it was so early in the game, and you're saying to yourself, okay, like all we need is just one attack. All we need is one attack. You're back in this game. Momentum's on your side. Keep it at 1-0. And then shortly thereafter, Saliba goes down. And I got the direct quote for you here as far as what happened there. It is, if you remember from the game, he's got the ball in his feet and he just goes down. No, no harsh, no challenge, no nothing like that. He just went straight down and play had to stop. And he's telling the training staff as he's leaving the field, "My back is gone. My back is gone." Remember before any of the action started, there was that report that he wouldn't even play at all because of this injury, and that he is deciding to delay surgery to come and play today or play in a tournament. And gave out. Gave out. Simple as that. Injuries are part of the game, man. And as a matter of fact, I mean, it's as simple as this. The team scored no goals today. So I don't care who was in the back line. You know, they would have lost through and through regardless. But that certainly just sucked the life out of the team. I mean, are you kidding me? A world-class center back getting taken out of the game like that. And I was surprised that also Didier opted to play Lacroix from Crystal Palace when you have, Konate there. Konate, somebody that's played, he has a lot of caps, has a lot of experience, and I think Lacroix was just, it's a semifinal. He doesn't get much playing time. I know he started against Norway, but remember against Norway, Norway rested all of their guys. He didn't look comfortable out there, you know. So your right side of the field, right, with Lacroix and Lucas Digne is just completely shaky thereafter. And at that point, you said, okay, I mean, yeah, you got to score, man. You got to put up some goals here. It just never happened. It didn't click. It simple as that. This is the second time where De La Fuente has specifically outcoached Didier. And listen, the players have to go out and execute. There's no doubt about that. But you and I, both on record, off record, we've had our displeasures with Didier, and I want to pull up this quote from the captain, Kylian. We didn't play the game we wanted, technically, tactically. When you don't do what you have to do in a semifinal, you don't win. Spain respected their game plan and what the team usually does. They like to control the ball and the tempo. Our plan was to press them high so they could not install their rhythm. There was another quote where that's part of it. The other part is, like I said from the beginning, two midfielders against three. And you know what Spain are gonna do, bro. Anybody who watches club football, international football, you know how Spain are gonna play. You have the personnel. I can't believe that you couldn't. That's all you got, dude. You got outcoached and outclassed, and Spain just played better, dude. It's as simple as that. And with this team, you just don't expect that. And Olise was a no-show. Credit to Rodri. He did not let him have any influence on the game whatsoever. And you saw, you saw the midfield, the attacking midfield trio. They had to retreat almost all the way back to the back line, for God's sake, because there was no rhythm whatsoever. Nobody can push the ball up. They were everywhere. They were everywhere. And I got to give a shout out to Marc Cucurella. He played very well. You if somebody doesn't watch the game, you would think that Dembele wasn't even out there today. I don't know. I don't know. That reminded me of the 2022 and the Euros 2024 Dembele out there. He nothing was working for him, and that was all Cucurella. He also had a deflection. He deflected one of I think the only one of Kylian's shots. Um, Kiki's also in the box, ready to unleash. Cucurella is right there, stops it. He was excellent. He played really well. Tell me this: what is Didier thinking when he's subbing out his best attacker, the only one that was trying anything, that was pushing the ball up, and gave Pedro Porro a run for his money in Barcola? He was the only one trying. He was the only one doing anything. He was helping out in defense, pushing the ball up, getting by defenders. Didier is too predictable. He is way too predictable. And you know what? I think anybody, everyone can see with a mile away that Olise just could not get anything going. And when you have the squad depth that you do have, you need to bring on Cherki a lot earlier in comparison to when it's 2-0 post hydration break. And you can just tell, man, the whole team knew that they were not going to win at that point. Once they got to that second hydration break, they knew. They knew. You could see it in their body language. And that's Didier. He's very stubborn. He's very stubborn, and he's not willing to change and unwaver. And it wasn't. I guess it wasn't meant to be. And I have had a dagger piercing through my heart since right around 2:15 p.m. I'm trying to understand what happened. I'm trying to piece together what happened. And credit to Spain. Right now, ownage is ownage, and they got us. They have us.
Yeah, I can, I can hear, in your voice, how devastating of a loss it is, and I think, it's something that I'm sure, I don't even want to get into other matches and sports and whatnot, but I'm sure that this is up there, for sure. Um, you asked the rhetorical question about, what is Didier thinking, a couple minutes back, and I think just to kind of piggyback on that, I completely agree with you in the sense that France were, unfortunately, tactically outclassed. Yes, they were technically outclassed as well, but definitely tactically. I mean, you mentioned the midfield, and that's the obvious portion of it. And it's just a numbers game at that point. But even like you said, I mean, for a team like France to have as much talent as they do, for them to approach that semifinal match in that manner was very disheartening, and it was my big concern about France before the tournament. And I think maybe uh, those concerns were mitigated up until now. But a lot of times in sports, it's about matchups, and there are certain teams that for a certain stretch, they just maybe it just it's like they've got their number, and Didier got tactically outclassed. You mentioned it back to back times. We won't count the Nations League, but in the Euros, and I think he got even. I think it was an even worse tactical outclass today than it was in the Euros because this is the most talented side that they've had in my opinion in the 12 years that Didier's been there. And I think that's kind of why I want to piggyback it to you because you mentioned the quote about technical and tactical. I know it's a bit early and maybe, the emotions are a bit raw and you might have to maybe go back and replay some of the things in your brain, but just kind of initially, um, to what level do you think was it more tactical? Was it more technical? Does everybody shoulder the blame? Like where would you like if you were to do an autopsy on this and try to assess like how you move forward from this, like what would be the adjustments that you would note that you're like that's unacceptable and can never happen again?
I don't know if you saw as the game wore on, the amount of space that Spain had in the middle of the park was outrageous. I didn't see Chouameni anywhere. Even Rabiot before he got pulled because of the early yellow. I saw him nowhere. And dude, I said it. I said, dude, Manu Kone is playing too well for you to bench him. And what do you decide? You decide to bench him. Like, are you kidding me? Manu Kone actually came in and gave life to the team, for God's sake. I actually saw him all over the field. I saw him trying to push the ball up, and I also saw him defending. And you put him on the bench because you're stuck in your old ways, and you still want Rabiot in the lineup no matter what. Again, Rabiot was having a good tournament too. I'm saying, why after 4 games off, you want to put Chouameni into the starting 11? That's just not. And I know, but we're talking about this after the game. Okay, I know that, but I said it even before. I didn't think that would be the right thing to do, and he ends up doing it. And then this is another quote from Kylian. Right from the start, we were pressing 3 against 2, and we messed up there. Against Spain, you have to press man for man. Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. I mean, Danny Olmo was just easily pushing the ball up. So was Rodri. So was Fabian Ruiz. It was just at some points in the game it looked a little too easy for them, and you're absolutely right. I think in terms of tactics from Didier today, it was worse today than in the Euros. It was a lot worse. And I'm going to say it again. This is a complete failure with this team that you have. And the form that all of the players were in heading into the tournament forms a big deal too. To not make the final is outrageous. I don't care that that Spain were on your side of the bracket. You got to play who's in front of you, no matter at what stage of the tournament. I mean, it's it's not complicated, man. It's very simple. And again, a piece of me just I wanted Didier to ride off into the sunset, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And I'll give another credit to Spain. I was a little critical of the center back pairing um, before, and I thought that that the team will be able to take care of business there. And Kylian really didn't really get anything going. It was tough for him. There was a couple of through balls over the top, and Unai Simon read it brilliantly. Was high, was up the field, and he ran him well, and got it out of harm's way. The only real chance that they had was when Simone was rushing back to his net, and Doué has the ball, and bro, you have Cherki and you have Usman right there, ready to go. But Doué decides to do a long shot, shoots it right at freaking Unai Simone's feet or his body, and that was that. I mean, and then also Bradley had a couple again. Bradley was your best freaking threat going forward. Why do you sub him out, dude? Why? I mean, if a guy like me if guys like us, man, can see that Olise has struggled throughout the game, and Bradley's your best. Why are you doing these type of changes that are so like, dude, you gotta. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm with you, man. I mean, it's like I told you many times, you gotta get some new blood in there, you gotta get someone like yourself in a managerial position, like, I think, the picture was always a little bit incomplete. It felt like, I felt like on and off the record, I think I've always kinda I think off the record, I think I've been more critical of DDA than on the record, and I think part of that was maybe, I wanted to see how this particular tournament was gonna play out. And I think a day like today kinda confirmed what I always knew, and it's that,
Yeah.
you know, uh,
What
you
we
know y
knew, what we knew. I
yeah,
mean, again, the guys we love, man.
yeah,
I got two of them saying that I should be grateful for. I mean, come on, man, are you serious? Like, of course, listen, of course, but dude, I mean, just the shortcomings have been way too. There have been way too many shortcomings over successes, and I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't know. It just yeah. The short. Actually, I was gonna say this because I'm all over the place right now. But I'm gonna say this: the dynasty that Argentina had and may still have, and in my humble opinion, the dynasty that Spain are building now. Because while I would love for Tuchel to win this tournament, I don't know who's going to stop this team, because the only team in my book, in my opinion, that was going to was Les Bleus. The dynasty that they're going to have again, by the way, they had their run 2008 through 2012, of course. That should have been us. That should have been us, with the player pool that you have, the talent that you have, the resources that you have. That should have been us. And the fact that it's not us, and the last major tournament this side has won, with all of the stars and the firepower that you have, is 2018, is absolutely ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, look, I think, winning is hard, obviously, right? And they in a 12-year cycle, yes, they won once, and so I know you mentioned, we've got people that we both know, and they tell you like, hey man, you should be grateful for DDA, like, and I think personally, I think I'm pretty sure I said the same thing, with Vince earlier. So, I can, what I believe in my heart of hearts, as you've always said, I think the way I look at it is there are certain coaches, and regardless of the sport, that whether they themselves or the roster around them, they can get you
Up
to
to
a
a certain
certain
point.
point. Yeah, like I gave Vince the example of like the Knicks, with Tom Thibodeau. Like, they were good enough to make it, to the Eastern. They had enough talent on the team, and he was a decent enough coach, to where he could get you to the Eastern Conference Finals, uh, but he wasn't maybe going to be the guy to get them over the hump, or in a dynastic sense, even like. So Didier, yeah, look, I give him credit and France credit. They won it in 2018, and they've come as close as you can win it in 22 and in 26, which is happening right now. Obviously, they didn't win either one, and I know this particular one is hard to swallow, especially because at least in 22, like you mentioned, in 22 they made it to the finals and they lost. But with this particular squad and the amount of talent that they have, to not even make it to the final, I guess it's one thing if you lose, maybe you get to a final, you lose, but and for it to happen in the manner in which it happened, where you know, uh, with the amount of talent that they have, there's no reason why you should be getting bossed around like that. I mean, Spain dominated them, dude, and I know that's the hard part for you to swallow, is that, you know, with the level of talent that they have and the form that they were in, not only before the tournament, but throughout the tournament, even today, like if they would have lost and maybe it would have looked a little differently, but like it almost felt like, after the penalty, it felt like they had no chance, dude. And I think that's the hard pill to swallow. Is like they really, with the amount of there was a lack of cohesion. I think in many ways, I think maybe you mentioned Killian. The quote I think what maybe stands out to me is that we talk a lot about at the time about how one of the biggest things as a manager is not only what you do tactically, but it's how you adjust within a match,
Yeah.
and what you do for morale. And I think it sends the wrong message to your players when you've got Olise, Dembele, Mbappe, Due, Barcola, Cherki, you got all these guys. It sends a really bad message to your players, where you're setting up in a way where you're okay with Spain dominating the ball, and even if they're dominating the ball, you don't really have much of a tactical game plan to be able to hold on to the ball and do the same thing that they're doing to you. I think is the disheartening part, even as a neutral. And so I can only imagine how much that hurts on your end, where again, if they would have lost, I think it's not even that they lost. I think it's the manner in which they lost, where you know, uh, with the amount of talent that they have, at least it feels like if you're going to go down, you got to go down swinging. And I didn't feel at any point in that match that they took a swing at any point. And I think that's the hard part, to probably digest. Um, and I think it definitely, it's unfortunate, because I think, like you said, you felt that this time was going to be different, and that the talent pool was going to be make up for whatever tactical differences might even come up. But a day like today goes to show you how important that element is, and in many ways, it held them back.
Yeah, yeah, and I still do want to give the opportunity to just say to say thank you to Didier. Um, what you did as a manager, coming in after the 2012 Euros, which was an early exit, steering the ship, quarterfinal finish in 2014, losing to the eventual champions Germany, the heartbreak in 2016, but that was one of their better finishes. Um, and the memories from that tournament as well, with them being the host nation, um, winning the tournament. I just think after winning it in 2018 and just the heightened expectations for the team, um, maybe it was just a little bit too much for him. I've already talked about 2021 Euros numerous times. We just talked about the final 4 years ago. Talked about the Euros and now this one. So all of this to say, Didier, thank you very much. What you've done as a manager is going to be hard to replicate, no doubt about it. But your first half was a heck of a lot better than your second half, and when the expectations heightened and the team needed proper tactics, in-game adjustments, and the right decisions within a match, and that's what coaches are judged on. And that's a big thing that they're judged on. It just uh, you got it wrong, and all of that to say, uh, Zizou, it's gonna take some time to like really, really be excited about it. But um, let's get this show on the road, Monsieur Zizou.
Well, man, I hope when the dust settles and the result of this might never fully fade away. My hope is, with Zizou, that he'll come and they'll only build on where they're at. They've got a ton of young. You mentioned the talent pipeline. They'll be back. They'll be. They've been one of, if not the most successful national teams in the last 10 years or so. And while I'm sure it stings that they weren't able to get more out of it, they're not yeah. I think the best. Knock on wood, man, for you, the best is to come. And I know it stings right now, but hopefully, through the sadness, we'll make the next triumph that much more special.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, penalties loss, a semifinal loss, another semifinal loss. Who knows? Who knows? But
Yeah. Who knows,
uh,
man?
I've had this happen in with other with other teams that are near and dear to my heart as well, and I guess that's why we're sports nerds, right? That's why we're crazy. That's why we go crazy about it. But you know, uh, and for those wondering whether or not I'm gonna watch the third place game, no, I'm not. I have no interest in it. I can care less about it. Whether or not you take third place or not, I don't give a damn. As a matter of fact, I hope you give minutes to guys that weren't able to really play much. I'm thinking of Zaire Emery. I'm thinking of Cherki. I'm thinking of uh, heck, put Lacroix out there. Put Kunate in. Teo, go ahead, man. Just let them play. A free flowing game. I can care less, and I'm not gonna watch. I'm there. I have no business. This isn't a. It, there's no happiness in finishing third place at the Coupe de France, and I can care less what you do. But if there is anything that you want that you should do, give minutes to the guys that weren't able to play as much. So
No, I'm glad you brought it up. I was actually going to ask you that. I was going to ask you if you were going to watch. I guess you beat me to it. You read my mind.
oh man.
Well, my
But hey, you
brother,
know what? Listen, from here on out, you and I moving forward, we'll get back to baseball. I don't have a whole lot there to be happy about, but I'll it's been a while since you and I have talked baseball. Um, NFL will be back, even some NBA as well. uh, we definitely got to hop on and talk about a lot of the transfers that have happened. A lot has happened just within this 1 month of the World Cup. And while the World Cup ends in disappointment for me, I'll always remember it just because that it was here in the U.S. and Thomas Tuchel with the best roster on paper out. You're one of the best coaching minds that I know. Go get it done, brother. Go get it done.
All right, yeah, Thomas Tuchel, man. You take a little bit of the taste out of your mouth with the Tuchel title. I'm sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward. Yeah, you're right. We haven't talked about baseball. Actually, ironically, the All-Star game's going on right now while we're talking. I'm not watching it at the moment, but I'll fill in the gaps accordingly. And then we can chop it up about baseball. Definitely, it's been a long time. Like you mentioned, football is around the corner, and then yeah, I mean, shit. Before you know it, the club season is going to be here, and it'll be time to chop it up about Chelsea, and hopefully take a little bit of the sting out of this tournament. But I always appreciate you, man. In triumph and in heartbreak, you're a man of your word, and you're a man of the people, and you show face in all of those different varying emotions. So I tip my cap to you, for having the strength to be able to, come on and talk about something like this, and be able to, it takes a lot of strength to be able to do that. So I tip my cap to you for that, and uh, I hope that moving forward, the devastation of the result, while it may never fully go away, I hope as time progresses, as they say, time heals all, and I hope that future successes will make a day like today more fruitful in the end. So, cheers to it, my brother.
Appreciate you, bro.
Till next time, man.